Do my makeup with me as I tell you guys how my ex-best friend used me for 2K. Okay, let's call this girl Addison. Now, Addison and I have been best friends since like 7th grade. 7th grade to end of high school, we were always like on and off, but whenever we were friends, we were best friends. Now, at times, every now and then, Addison could be a really good friend, and I loved her until she wasn't a good person. Now, the last couple months of senior year, her and I were really close. We would always go out, I would always go to the mall, and every time we'd go out, I would pay for her always. Whether that was her clothes, food, hair, lashes, makeup, anything, I would pay for her. And Addison doesn't come from a poor background at all. But like the person I am, like I never know if someone's financially like in a struggle. So I'm always willing to pay until like I see that taking advantage of. And like I started to notice this when we were going to a concert and she was like, she had a bunch of clothes like ready. She tried it on, she loved them. And she was like, I just don't have enough money to pay for this. Like I'm so sad. Like I don't even want to go out shopping because I don't have money. Like kind of hinting that like, oh, can you pay for this? Or else like I'm not gonna go to the concert that I paid tickets for. And like this started to become a habit. Like Addison would be like, I don't know if I want to go to the mall because like I can't afford to buy anything. And I was like, it's okay, like I'll get it for you, because like I said, I never know when someone needs help financially. And so like I'm willing to help someone if they can't, because I know that if I can afford it, I can afford being generous to other people. At this point, I'm paying for her hair, her nails, her lashes, her clothes. And on top of that, I'm always driving her because she doesn't drive. So I was always driving her, which is an extra additional cost for gas. So at this point, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm spending so much money on her and it's not being reciprocated. And as I said, like I never know what someone's going through, but also for me in friendships, like I'm not asking for money back, but I hope that if I was in a position where I needed someone to buy something for me, they would do that. And she never offered to pay anything. And like, I'm not expecting that, but at the same time, like I paid for everything. And on top of buying things from her, she has and still has so much of my clothes and my makeup. And literally I saw on her Facebook that she's posted up in my clothes still. And like, I didn't mind this. I was just like, okay, like I just need to stop spending as much money. And I didn't mind it until it was Mother's Day. And to give you guys a little background, like a year ago I lost my mom, so this was my first Mother's Day without her. So this Mother's Day was really hard for me, and we spent it together. We went to Tahoe. And I was a little late to picking her up because I went to go visit my mom and I just didn't have time to go have breakfast with her friends. Which I hope that would be understandable to majority of the people, that I'm going to go visit my mom and I can't go to breakfast with your friends. So at this point, I go to pick her up and she's in a bad mood, like a really bad mood. And I'm like, what's wrong? And mind you, she didn't text me didn't text me in the morning or anything, like asking how I was doing, which is just like, I feel like as a friend, you should, especially like what I was going through. And I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, you didn't show up to breakfast like you said you would. I was like, no, I said if I have time I will, but I will still pick you up. And she was like, okay, well like it's just like you said you would and then like you didn't, and we were all waiting for you. But like I told her that I was gonna have a hard morning and I don't think I would go. So at this point I'm kind of already like, okay, like she hasn't asked me like once how I'm feeling, how I'm doing. And at this point, like she hasn't even asked me if I'm doing okay or like mentioned anything prior to how I'm feeling. But yeah, so the whole ride to Tahoe was kind of like quiet-ish. And then we get to Tahoe and we're at like the lake for like 2 hours with like my stepdad and my little brother. And I'm asking my stepdad, I'm like, hey, like my other friend invited me to go spend the night. Can I tonight? And then he's like, yeah, that's fine. And the thing about Addison, she hates when I have other plans with my other friends. it's like she kind of wants me all to herself, which is like, so you're allowed to go hang out with other friends, but when I want to, then you kind of get like insecure or something. I don't know. Anyways, after that, I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to go see my other friend, but like I never said that out loud. And then when we're walking back to my car, and we took 2 separate cars. So my stepdad and my little brother took a car, I took my own car. So when we're walking back to my car, I'm like, what's wrong? And she was like, I just feel like you're rushing the whole day. Like, I just feel like you don't care that I'm here. Like, I literally like cleared my whole day so I can spend Mother's Day with you. And I canceled everything. And I just feel like you're in a rush to go hang out with my other friend. And I was like, no, like I'm literally spending time with you. I thought we were having a good time. And like in my head, I'm like, okay, literally whatever. I drove 2 hours. Like if I didn't want you to be here, I wouldn't have asked you to come with me. And then after we go to this restaurant that my mom liked, and I'm like quiet because I'm like really like that hurt. She hasn't checked on me once today. She's making it about her, which I'm like, I thought we came to talk to have fun. And so she starts like at the dinner table, she's like, and I just don't understand why you do this. Like, it's supposed to be a good day and you're acting like this. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this is the first Mother's Day without my mom, so I'm gonna be off. Like, AF. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not acting normal. Like, obviously today's like a hard day for me and you haven't checked up once on me. And she was like, ugh. Anyway, so dinner ended up really fast. So after we're walking back to my car and she just starts going off on me. Like, I genuinely don't know how she has the audacity to say this, but she looked me in my face and was like, your mom may have died, but my mom is still alive on this earth acting like she doesn't care about me. Like, I know everyone goes through something, but I feel like one issue is bigger than the other. And like, I'm never someone to compare issues because I all know that we're all human and we all go through things, but it comes to a point where like, that was mad disrespectful. So I look at her and I'm like, are we serious right now? Anyways, we walk back to my car. She's screaming at me 30 minutes, like for 30 minutes, the whole time in the car, saying I don't do anything for her. I've never done anything for her. And I'm like, okay, well, if I don't do anything for you, give me back all the stuff I've ever bought you, all my clothes back, and I want that back by tonight. And she was like, okay, fine. At this point, she's back at her house. I'm at mine. I text her, you better drop off my stuff by 9 p.m. or have it outside of your porch. And she was like, Anna, you're genuinely overreacting. Like, this is so childish. Like, can we just talk about this later? Like, it's one thing to disrespect me, but it's crossing a line if you disrespect me and my family, especially my dead mom. Like, who are you to ever even say that to me? Like, you lost all my respect. Like, genuinely, it still angers me to this day. And so I'm like, give me my stuff back. Like, at least the stuff I let you borrow. She's like, this is childish. Like, no. And, yeah. And I'm, like, so pissed because I already feel so bad about that, like, money I spent on her. Everything I've done for her just went to waste. And, like, I'm done fighting with her. I'm done going through these things. And, like, it definitely crossed the line at this point. Anyways, she blocked me on Snap, so I texted her stepmom. I'm like, hey, can you see if you can get my stuff back? She's like, I will, but I've never got it back. So anyway, what I'm basically saying is never financially invest in someone who you think is like even your best friend, because they can switch up just like that. And like, if you use people, I'm sorry, but you're like one of the most selfish people on earth. Anyways, I wasn't able to finish my whole makeup routine, so if you want a full makeup routine, comment down below. And Madison, if you're seeing this, get my stuff back.
Get unready with me while I tell you about the time that I got meningitis in freshman year. I honestly can't believe I haven't told this story on here yet, but like, it is one of the most traumatizing things that happened to me in my time at Syracuse. I just wanted to preface that getting meningitis was like genuinely my biggest fear in freshman year, and I was so upset when that fear came true. And also, just to preface, I am vaccinated for everything, so I don't really know how I got meningitis. This was like right after family weekend and freshman year. That semester, I had already gotten COVID, and then I had like probably like the flu and a bunch of other colds and whatever else, but this is like the worst time that I've been sick at school. So one night I got back home from hanging out with my friends and like I went to bed, whatever else, and I woke up the next morning with like a horrible, horrible, horrible headache. It was to the point where like I couldn't even get up and go to the dining hall to get any food because I felt so horrible. I wake up the next morning, headache is still horrible, like head is booming. And at that point I was so fed up with my head hurting that bad. It had been like a day and a half, 2 days already, and I was like, I think that there's actually something wrong with me. I probably need to go to the ER. So I called medical transport and they took me to Barnes, and Barnes just gave me Tylenol and water. Keep in mind, Barnes is like infamous for doing this. And when I had gone to Barnes, I was like, I think that there's actually something wrong with me. They checked me over. They were like, we don't think that you have anything else going on with you. So, you know, you can lay in the bed and then you're free to go. So once I get back to my dorm, I am still not feeling well. So I call medical transport and I have them take me to Krause, which is like the actual hospital. I get into the hospital and it is so crowded in there. It's like a billion people waiting. And I think that they were just like very, very understaffed. And so they had me waiting in the waiting room for like literally what feels like forever. The lights were so bright, and keep in mind my head was still pounding. Like I could barely even walk. I felt nauseous from how much my head was hurting. And then they finally call me back. They're asking me what's wrong with me. I'm saying that I'm having a horrible headache, whatever else. And so they're like, okay, well, we're going to give you an IV drip with Tylenol. I had just gotten Tylenol all the days before that I was having this headache, but it did not work. Sit me in this dark room and they come in and they're like, okay, like here's this IV drip. I'm also really scared of needles. So like this whole entire experience was already a lot. And when the guy went to go put the IV into my hand, he put it in the wrong way and punctured my vein incorrectly. So my hand started swelling up really badly. I have a mark on my hand from where he like punctured the IV drip in my hand. And also it hurt to have it in. So I was already in pain with this headache and my hand was hurting and I was in this hospital and my parents were on the phone like freaking out and they were on their way to Syracuse. But like obviously because I was 18, the doctors were really not trying to talk to them. And I was just like really distraught and they for some reason wouldn't let me give them consent to kind of like manage this issue. So then at some point during the day, I think that they had needed that hospital room and they were like, okay, we're going to put you in the hallway. The hallway was the last place I needed to be because they had me laid out on a stretcher next to a bunch of other people who were also actually sick in this noisy hallway that was super busy and overcrowded. The lights were super bright. My head was pounding. I could barely even like think because it was so bad and I was so stressed. I was just crying to myself and they had me sitting out in the hallway for 7 hours. And then the doctors come back to me and they're like, okay, we're going to give you a couple tests to see what you have going on with you. So they go and they test me for a UTI. And instead of waiting for the results to see whether or not I have a UTI, they just give me antibiotics for having a UTI that I did not have. This is important for later. Then a couple hours later, I'm still sitting in the hospital and they come back to me and they pull me in a room and they're like, oh, we need to have a conversation with you about possibly testing you for meningitis. I was already freaked out because there was a possibility that I might have meningitis, but then they told me that the way that they have to test me for meningitis is by giving me an emergency spinal tap. So keep in mind, my parents are still in Philadelphia and I'm sitting in this hospital alone by myself and they have to give me an emergency spinal tap. If you don't know what a spinal tap is, they basically take a large needle and puncture it through your spine to drain the spinal fluid so that they can test you for meningitis. A spinal tap is also very, very high risk because if they even get it an inch off of where it's supposed to be, they could permanently paralyze you forever. So I'm obviously distraught, but my parents talked me into it and talked me through it and they were like, okay, you just need to take this test. So at 10 o'clock at night, in the middle of this random hospital in Syracuse, New York, they gave me a spinal tap, they numbed me up, they drained my fluid from my back. And so I'm already crying and super stressed from having to have had that spinal tap. And then they're also telling me, oh, by the way, you need to lay on your back for the next couple of days. You cannot get up or move because of something with the fluid in my head. I don't know. Keep in mind, I still had not been admitted to the hospital yet. I was in the ER and they just had me in a random room. So at like 1 o'clock in the morning, they finally admitted me into the regular hospital part. But my head was also still hurting, not just from whatever I had going on with myself, but also from the spinal tap. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to make a part 2. Part 2 of the time that I got meningitis in freshman year. So they finally admitted me into the hospital at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they told me that I had to stay in the hospital for a week while they waited for the test results from my spinal tap. The next morning, my parents were finally able to get down to Syracuse to come see me in the hospital. And like, I was genuinely so freaked out. I had to email all my teachers as to why I was missing class. And on top of that, class registration was in the middle of all of this. And I had to register for my classes the next semester while sitting in the hospital bed and not in class. And I was still anxious because I was waiting on the test results to see whether or not I had meningitis. I could not sleep every night because they would come into the hospital room every couple of hours and like draw blood from me, which also freaks me out because as I said, I do not like needles. My parents finally came to see me and they were like super worried and stuff like that. But like obviously there was nothing that they could really do about the situation except for press the doctors for answers. They were still waiting on the results for this test. But the thing that delayed the results even more was the fact that I had taken antibiotics for a UTI that I did not have because the doctor made me take the antibiotics for a UTI. Had I not taken those antibiotics, I would have gotten a more clear answer sooner. In addition to that, I had to lay flat in the hospital bed the entire time because every time I would sit up, my head would hurt. Not from whatever was going on with me, but I guess from the spinal tap because they took out some of my spinal fluid. The final day that I was in the hospital, the doctor came in with an answer and he said that I could be discharged from the hospital, but they weren't really sure what I had because of the antibiotics from the UTI. They believe it was meningitis caused by some other virus that I might have picked up in the dorm, but, you know, y'all honestly could have said that a couple days ago, that you just didn't have an answer and you thought it was meningitis, but... So my parents were able to get me home for Thanksgiving break, but they had me laying completely flat in the car on the way back the entire 4-hour drive home because every time I would sit up, I would have a headache. And then after getting whatever medicine that I got, I obviously got a lot better during Thanksgiving break. I was able to like get up and move around more, but honestly, that is like the most traumatizing thing that's ever happened to me. The care that I received in the hospital was honestly very poor, and I personally feel like I was not treated well as a patient because they were diagnosing me with things that they didn't know I had, which delayed my results. I was highly lucky and highly blessed to be able to make it out alive because that is probably like the worst thing that happened to me in college. But yeah, crazy story. I honestly can't believe I've never told that on here before, but yeah. Bye.
Story time. I got a school counselor fired because he was a creep. I've been getting a lot of comments like this, and like I have a lot of stories, so if you guys want to keep hearing these, let me know. Really quick trigger warning. I am going to be talking about some sensitive topics. I was a minor when all this happened, so if you don't want to listen to that, scroll. So it was like the first week of 7th grade, and I was walking down the hallway, and an adult with like a lanyard pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." So I go to the side of the hallway, and it's pretty crowded. Like, it wasn't like we were alone. But he pulls me to the side, and he was like, "You're not in trouble. I just want to ask you if you'll do something for me." I was like, "Yeah, sure. What do you need?" And he said that he had a video that he needed to make because he was a counselor at the school, and he wanted me to be in the video. And I was like, okay, great. Sounds good. Now, you gotta keep in mind, in middle school, I had never had, like, any interactions, like, creepy interactions with guys. I was very naive. So when the counselor asked me to come to his room alone, I did. And he basically wanted me to read off this thing, and he was gonna record it, and it was gonna be like a video for students to watch to like motivate them for classes or something. So I read the thing that he had me do, he recorded me, and that was basically it. Okay, I do need to add right here, I forgot to add it, but I've never seen this video, and no one I know has ever seen this video, so I actually don't know if this was like a real thing that he had as a job or he just recorded me. Then a few days later, he pulls me to the side again, and he's like, "Hey, you seem like a really great girl, blah, blah." And he was basically just like, "If you ever need anything, to come to me." So the next few months, whenever I was late to class, I would go to his office, and he would write me a late note, or like he would give me candy. Like, me and him started to become friends, if that makes sense. Another thing is that I took Chinese classes. I've been doing Chinese my whole life, and he also knew Chinese. So that's just another thing that we kind of bonded over. So then these things kind of started getting uncomfortable. I think earlier I said he was my counselor. I want to make it clear now, he wasn't my counselor. He was a counselor at the school. He wasn't my counselor. And this is important because I was skipping class one day, and he comes and sits by me when I was skipping class, and he says, "You're supposed to be in class right now." And I was like, "How did you know that?" And he pulls up a screenshot on his phone, and I know it was a screenshot because he went to the Photos app. He pulls up a screenshot, and it is a screenshot of my class schedule, which I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure
only your counselor is supposed to have that information. Maybe that's not true, but that makes sense in my head. I don't know. So that's when things kind of start getting a little creepy. He starts saying hi to, well, he was doing this before, but like I start noticing more. He's saying hi to me more. He's giving me treats more. He's coming to my classes more and more. Like he just has to drop things off at my teacher's classes all the time. Like almost every single class. Weird. So this was the last straw for me. He comes to drop something off for one of my classes, and like at this point it had been like going on for a few months, and I was really uncomfortable with him. So I didn't look up, I didn't talk to him, but he comes, drops something off in the class I'm in, and he comes up to me and rubs my back. And he's rubbing my back, and he goes, "Hi, Lena." And like immediately, like I just felt like so much like fear. Like it's honestly like even just looking back to that moment, it like makes me emotional and it makes me scared. So I like look up and I'm like, "Oh, hi," like, "Hello." And he's like, I'll see you around. And he leaves. When I tell you, I literally just start crying. I'm like literally shaking talking about it. But I just started like tearing up, and I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. And so I went to my teacher and I was like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And I left. And I literally just cried. So then finally I had a neighbor who was a teacher at the school, and I told her about it, and I said, "Hey, this guy has been making me super uncomfortable, and now he's starting to touch me." So my neighbor, who is a teacher, goes to the school board, and the school board, she told me that they told him he cannot speak to me anymore. And he didn't really talk to me after that. Like if I was in the hallway, he would say like, "Hi, Lena," or like just wave at me or look at me. And then after that school year, he was no longer at the school. So I'm not actually sure if he got totally terminated or if he just got transferred to a new school. I hope terminated. But yeah, that is how I got a teacher, or I guess a counselor, fired or transferred out of the school. I got them out of the school, and that's what matters. And I want to make something clear, just to everyone who did go to the same middle school as me. It's not the guy that you guys are thinking of. It's not the science teacher. Because at our school, we also had a science teacher who did stuff to girls. So, really great school. But no, that, two different people. Okay, science teacher over here. Counselor, person I've been talking about over here. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Again, if you guys want to hear more stories, I have a lot that I would love to share with you guys. So let me know. Bye.
Okay, so I'm in the middle of getting ready, and I'm going to talk about what it was like to be at a cute center for eating disorders, because it was one of the most traumatizing and bizarre and like dehumanizing experiences of my life. And I'm in no way bashing recovery. This treatment is part of the treatment that saved my life. Like, genuinely, I'm so grateful that I'm alive right now. But my trauma and my emotions are also valid, and I think I have a right to talk about how weird it was. So I arrived there via air ambulance, which is this little private jet, but I'm like on a gurney with paramedics. So I get off the private jet in Denver, Colorado, and I get on I get on an ambulance, and I'm driven all the way to like downtown Denver, where this hospital is, where acute is. So I get loaded up on a gurney, like up the elevator, I get into acute, and it's like a hospital floor, like a normal hospital floor. It's like very new, which I kind of liked at the time. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't realize I was walking into something that's gonna give me trauma for years. But it's like, it's nice, it's new, it looks kind of cute. Like, it's like, they're trying their best to make it look like sweet and like welcoming, which I can appreciate. So I get into my room, and it's like, okay, it looks like a hospital room. Like, it's nice. I've got a nice view of like downtown Denver. Like, I'm like, okay. And then, basically, the longer I'm there, the more I realize that this is kind of like terrifying. So off the bat, like the point of acute is to get weight restored, because at this point you're like, so you only get an acute if you're that underweight, if you're that malnourished, where it's like this, I don't know how to say this like respectfully, but like the other patients were like the skinniest, most sickly people I've ever seen in my life. Like I didn't see myself as one of them until I look back at old pictures, and I'm like, holy shit, you look just like those other skinny people in there. But like, body dysmorphia is weird, because I did not realize that I looked like them. Like, everybody there is so sickly looking, so just like, it's sad. There's a really, really sad energy in that place, and it's just like, it's just so apparent that like so many bad things have happened there, as in like people just giving up hope, people forced to live out their worst fear. Like, you can just feel that like the energy in there is really heavy and really, really hard. So obviously, like, off the bat, my first meal is lunch. It's nothing bad. It's like a Smucker's and Goldfish. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. So they progressively make you eat more and more food, like, for the weight restore process. Like, they do it very slowly, kind of like to make sure you don't get into a state of hypermetabolism and like your phosphorus doesn't get too high and you don't die from it. Because apparently, yeah, that's a thing. If you weight restore too fast, you just die. Okay. So while I'm in there, I realize that I have no rights anymore, basically. I mean, like, I couldn't even leave if I wanted to, because I had a stay of commitment at that point because I didn't want treatment. But basically, like, you have no privacy. When you first get there, you have a BHT, like, I think it's a behavioral health specialist or technician, something. It's like a nursing assistant, but for like a mental health role. You have a BHT in there with you 24/7. You have one throughout the day, throughout the night. They're in your little room with you, just like on the computer, like, so you have no privacy at first at all. And that extends to, unfortunately, this lasted the whole stay, the bathroom. You cannot use the bathroom without them watching you. Like, if you're shitting, if you're pissing, they stand there in the door and they stare at you. Like, they have to, but it is so dehumanizing. Like, it feels so, and at that point, like, you're so sick that your bowels aren't working right. Like, you're super constipated. It's really hard. Like, you don't really, like, your pelvic floor is super weak. So, like, there's a lot of weird shit going down there. And you're just being watched the whole time. Like, you're being observed by these BHTs who are, like, probably your age. Like, some of them were in college, like, doing their little, like, fucking internships. And I'm just like, I used to be a nursing student right before I got to treatment. So it was very dehumanizing to watch people, to be the patient and watch people who I'm supposed to relate to look down on me, and kind of, I could tell they felt some type of way about me. And then also they watch you shower. You're only allowed to shower for like 10 minutes, and then you have to be cleared to even stand up showering. Like, at first, a lot of people have to sit down showering, and they have to like have somebody like directly watch them, versus like if you get a little bit better, they'll let you kind of close the shower curtain and like have a tiny bit of privacy, which like that became my sanctuary. Is I would just sit in the shower, like, and just have like a second apiece before I had to get back out and like be watched. And then another thing that really made this feel like prison was, you're not allowed to leave your room. You're only allowed to leave your room for a couple situations. So for one, it's like, if you're compliant, if you eat your whole meal, you're allowed to walk 1 or 2 laps based on like how long you've been there, 1 or 2 laps around the floor. And when you first get there, you have to wear a gait belt because you're so like unsteady. Even though like that pissed me off a lot, because like right before I got to treatment, I ran like 7 miles the week before I got hospitalized, which like, yeah, is not okay, but it just felt so dehumanizing to go from like running 7 miles to like being on a gait belt and being walked slowly in the hallway. And like while I do that, I like peer into other people's rooms, and everybody just looked so sad. Like, we all just, you could tell we're just so defeated, so upset. Like, I just can't get over how like just like melancholy the vibes were in there. Like, everything was just so like there's a lot of pain. So after your walk, you got to go back into your room, and like you could do those walks after, I think, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Again, only if you're 100% compliant. And then I was too scared to find out what happened if you weren't 100% compliant. Like, I made the mistake of reading some Google reviews about the place because I have morbid curiosity. And oh my God, it gave me such bad anxiety. People were saying they weren't compliant, so they got, like, what's the word? Like, they got restrained and, like, I think, what's it called? Like a Jarvis against them, where they get, like, pumped full of sedatives and then hooked up to a feeding tube. So somebody said that they had that happen to them in their reviews. So my worst nightmare in the whole entire world is to be hooked up to a feeding tube. So I was like, that's not gonna happen. Like, half people on my floor were on feeding tubes. I'm like, that's not gonna fucking happen to me. Like, that is not gonna fucking happen to me. That's not gonna fucking happen to me. Like, so I was so perfect. I did not want to mess up. I didn't want to breathe wrong because I was so scared that they were gonna, like, is it 8? I don't remember the name. Like, yeah, like the Jarvis, I think that's what it's called. I was so scared they were gonna, like, drug me and I'd wake up with a feeding tube. And, like, I don't think I could. I'm traumatized now. I think if I got a feeding tube, I think I'd be really, 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 really fucked up. So I was the perfect patient. Genuinely, I was kind to my staff, even though I hated them deep down because my eating disorder was so angry. Like, I was perfect. So I moved up really quickly. There's 3 levels. The first level, like, you can't really do anything. The second level, I think you can, like, start going on, like, outings where it's, like, they put you in a wheelchair. So you're not allowed to walk. You get into a wheelchair, and they wheel you around the hospital campus. It's so dehumanizing. Like, genuinely, like, just being out on the wheelchair, like, it just feels so heartbreaking almost. Like, it's really, you feel, like, it didn't click to me how, like, sick I was until acute, because you're treated like you're a terminal patient somewhere, like, being wheeled out in a wheelchair, like, people looking at you pitifully, like, giving you pity smiles. I'm like, it was a really weird experience. I'm like, wait, it's like, it's just me. It's just Lolo. Why are you looking at me like I'm sad? Like, it's just, it didn't click with me until, like, I look back at pictures and I'm like, no wonder people looked at me with pity. Like, I looked horrible. I looked so sick. But, again, what I ended up getting the most traumatized over was, I had the worst FOMO of my life. Like, I always have some FOMO, but this was, like, gut-wrenching, like, disgusting. I had a big room with a big window that looked out at this park. And in that park, there's always joggers, there's always kids playing, there's people walking their dogs, like, there was people, like, from the hospital going on their little walk during their lunch break, and I just would sit there and, like, it felt like my heart was, like, slowly just, like, disintegrating. Like, I felt so disconnected, and I felt so terrible that I took my life for granted. Like, I took going outside for granted. I took drinking my cute little energy drink for granted. I took, like, even eating what I want for granted. Like, I felt the most, like, biblical level of envy and jealousy for the most mundane things. Like, I would go on my little lap around the floor and I'd see the nurses station. They'd have, like, Chipotle, and they'd have, like, a bubbler, and they'd have their energy drinks, and I would just feel this, like, horrible, gut-wrenching, like, sadness, because I just was I couldn't relate to them anymore, and I missed feeling like a person. Like, they looked at me like a patient, and I missed being one of them. I was one of them. I was a nursing student, for God's sake. Like, loss of identity, shit, dude, like, that was really, 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 really hard. But I don't know, I got out of there in 4 weeks because I was so compliant and so perfect, which I have a lot of repercussions for being so perfect now, like, with trauma, but it was an experience, to say the least.
My crazy roommate got eaten out on my living room couch, and my friends walked in and saw it happening. Hi, this is not clickbait. This is actually my real life, and I'm going to be doing a several-part series about my absolutely insane living experience this past year, and to my ex-roommate, who is an absolute psycho crazy person, to her future roommates, I am so sorry if you came across this, but her lease is permanent there, so she can't come back to me. Sorry about it, but yes, I will be doing a several-part series. This is not clickbait. This is actually my real experience living with her, and let's dive into it. Okay guys, diving right into it, there's a lot to this story, so like I said, there will be multiple parts, but let's back up to about December timeline of my freshman year. So at that time, I was living in the dorms. I had talked to a friend about getting an apartment for the next year because most students choose to live off campus. I go to the University of Michigan. It's pretty common. I knew that I wanted an apartment and she was looking for one too. So we looked into the Vic apartments. I live at Vic Village South. I really, really love this apartment. It's great. And when we were looking at it, the pricing was within both of our housing ranges, like our budgets and stuff. So it worked out. So the way that this unit is structured is there's 2 bedrooms. One of them is a single bedroom with its own bathroom, and the other one is a shared double room with a shared bathroom. So I had said to my roommate, hey, we could totally do the shared room if you want, but it's within my budget to have my own room. Would you be okay with it? Like, do you want to find a roommate or do you want to just pair up? And she was like, hey, you want your own room? Totally cool. Get your own room. I'll find a roommate. So we started searching for a third roommate. We had someone in mind, but unfortunately it just fell through. So we had posted it on like the Snapchat and Instagram, like, hey, looking for roommates. This is what the lease option is. We had a lot of people reach out, but unfortunately most of them were trying to like ask us to like pay part of their lease, and I was like, no, this is a full year lease, like this isn't a sublease, we're not covering for you, sorry. But we had my roommate who I'm talking about in this story. For legal purposes, I will not be using her name, although if you want to figure out who it is, literally just go to my Instagram. You can do like a couple clicks and you will figure out who it is. I will use my friends' names throughout this because like it makes it a little bit easier for me, but for legal purposes, I'm going to be referring to this roommate as Psycho Bitch because there is literally no other way to describe her other than a psychotic bitch. So anyways, so Psycho Bitch texts us and is like, hey, like I took a gap semester. I'm looking for housing coming back this next year. And again, first red flag. Why are you taking a gap semester? She didn't tell us why she took a gap semester. So, you know, again, fill in the blank. And at first I was like, no, you shouldn't judge her. Maybe she had a family emergency. Maybe she got really sick or something. There could be a very, very valid reason for her taking a gap semester. So I was like, okay, no big deal. We set up a FaceTime call with her to talk about the apartment lease and everything. She gets onto this FaceTime call immediately. She's not paying attention to a single thing we have to say. She was watching the Michigan hockey game the entire time. And like, at the time I was like, okay, I get it. Like if I wanted to watch the game and like someone else had scheduled something at this time, like I'd want it on in the background, right? But I'd still be paying attention to what is being like talked about. She literally did not pay attention to like a single thing we said. And she kept saying like, yeah, that sounds fine. That's good. So I was a little bit hesitant, but I was like, you know what? I had checked out her Instagram. She seemed pretty normal. She was actually in a sorority that a lot of my friends were in, and all of them are really, really nice, intelligent, sweet, kind people. So I thought, okay, like if she's in here, like she's got to be pretty normal, right? Wrong, okay? Don't judge a book by its cover. I was very, very wrong. So anyways, she was going to be my friend who was going to be my roommate. Her name is Delisha. She was going to be Delisha's roommate. Unfortunately, probably about like July of that year after we had all signed together, Delisha had texted me and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to come back to the university. I'm actually transferring back home because my dad is really sick and I need to go home to help take care of him. And I was like, hey, I totally understand. It's no big deal. What's happening with the lease? Like, what are we doing there? Because at this point, it's just me and Psycho Bitch stuck together. Luckily, obviously, I had my own room, so I was like, oh, it's no big deal. I was wrong. So Delisha posted on Facebook that she was putting up this lease, you know, if any University of Michigan students were looking, that sort of thing. She found my new roommate, Ananya. I absolutely love and adore Ananya. We got along great this past year, had an awesome roommate relationship. But Ananya found her and took over Delisha's lease, so she was going to be Psycho Bitch's roommate. So Ananya didn't know that she was living with us until pretty late into the summer, and prior to this, all 3 of us had made a list of things that we were going to need for the apartment, because, I mean, when you move from the dorms into an apartment, you obviously need to get more stuff. You need kitchen stuff, decorations, all that jazz, cleaning supplies, whatever. We had made this list. There was probably about 50 things on it. Guess who bought every single thing on the list? Me and my family. We probably spent shy of like $1,000, I would say, on everything, because we literally paid for every single item in my apartment. The dishes, utensils, cups, cooking ware, cleaning supplies, literally everything on this list. And I had texted Psycho Bitch multiple times throughout the summer saying, hey, I bought this, can you get this, or can you get that? Every single time she was like, oh yeah, totally, I got it, don't worry about it. Lo and behold, it's like August 1st, August 2nd. Half of this shit on this list is still not bought. And I'm like, girl, we need to buy it. And so my parents finally were like, Mia, we'll just buy it. Like, don't worry about it. Because if you don't buy it, like, there's not going to be anything there when you move into the apartment. So my parents buy the rest of it. And I said, okay, I'll just ask her to get a vacuum. Now, I would say a nice vacuum is probably anywhere between like $80 to $100, and if you get like those special student deals, it's definitely cheaper than that. So I said, hey, can you buy a vacuum? I've bought everything else off the list. I'd really, really appreciate it. She says, yeah, totally, I can bring a vacuum. I'll also bring a blender and a couple other items. And I was like, okay, cool, sounds awesome. I chose to move in early to my apartment. I paid like $100 extra fee to move in literally only a day early. But I did this because my parents had a trip planned throughout Michigan and it just worked out a little bit better for everybody's schedule. Tell me why psycho bitch texts me and says, hey, can you let me in the building? I'm gonna move some of my stuff in. Mind you, I paid $100 extra to get my key early and access to the unit. And suddenly she's just able to use this profit off of it. Mind you, didn't bring anything. She comes in, brings her stuff, and I notice, where's the vacuum? There's no vacuum. So I was like, oh, wait, like, where's the vacuum? Like, she had mentioned briefly that she was gonna maybe buy it when she got to Ann Arbor. And at first I was like, okay, like, that sort of makes sense. But at the same time, I'm like, if you drive a standard size car, there's no way that a vacuum cannot fit in there, even if you literally pack that thing to the brim. But I was like, okay, whatever. Suddenly, she wheels in this vacuum that I swear to God was from the 80s. It was her grandma's broken old vacuum. That's the vacuum she brought. Mind you, she had told me she was going to actually buy one once she got to Ann Arbor. So anyways, brings in this vacuum. It's completely busted. I tried using it on like the first or second day. I plug it in. Hair, dirt, just disgusting shit flies out of this vacuum. Luckily, it was in my bathroom, and there's like hardwood flooring on there, not carpet, so I was able to clean it up pretty quickly. But at this point, we didn't have any other vacuum. We just have this broken vacuum. So once Ananya moved in, she ended up having to buy a whole new vacuum on Amazon. It was just like a cheap little vacuum. And then I ended up getting my parents' old vacuum. I had to ask them and be like, hey, so remember how I had said my roommate was gonna buy this and like bring this? She actually didn't. Oh, and that blender she had mentioned never came. Mind you, well, we'll get into this, but she apparently had the right to use my $200 blender that my parents had bought me as a graduation gift. That was totally okay, but she never brought one. Anyways, this vacuum sat in our kitchen for 3 months straight. I said pretty much every day, hey, can you fix the vacuum? Like, what's the plan with this? It obviously does not work, so can we throw it away? No, we were never allowed to throw it away. It just sat there. Again, this girl never took out the trash, never did the dishes, never cleaned up after herself. We'll get into that more later. But yeah, so this vacuum sat for 3 months straight. And then finally my parents came with the vacuum that they had brought and said, okay, so can we throw this away? And finally my mom was able to trash it. After 3 months, it had sat in our kitchen, just sitting there. But yeah, so that's all just like day one. Let's get into the first week of living together. So, again, at this point, I'm like trying not to judge any of the things she's doing. I'm trying to be really open-minded, that sort of thing. I choose to go out with her one day because there was like a darty going on, and she's like, hey, like my big is over there, like we can totally go, whatever. So I go out with her and we're talking a little bit about like our home lives, past, all of that. She tells me that the reason she took a gap semester was because she had developed such a severe addiction to alcohol that she literally brought bottles of it to her classes and got so drunk at a party that she fell, cracked open her skull, and had to get taken to the hospital via ambulance. What? I don't know why, like, why would you tell someone that, like, on day 3 of living together? But then also almost make a joke of it and seem proud of it. She also tried to claim that in the sorority that she was in, I actually have, like I said, several friends in there. She claimed that one of my very close friends bullied her and made up this entire elaborate story about how they, like, made up lies about her. Come to find out, none of that was true. Literally not a single part of that storyline was true. And I knew immediately when she was like, oh, this person bullied me, she was like a bitch to me, all of this. I was like, no, babe. Like, I know Dada, like, she would never do that. Okay, this video is like just up at like time, so come back for part 2. We'll talk everything else. Like I said, buckle in, guys. This is a multi-part series. There's a lot. Hey guys, I'm the girl whose roommate got eaten out on her couch, and her friends walked in on it. So this is part 2 to my other video. If you guys didn't see part 1, please go check it out. Let's get back into this. Okay, so I think I left off on like welcome week, that timeline. Let's just say for sake of time, welcome week was like a disaster with her. She got so drunk to the point that like she literally didn't know where she was at several parties that we went to, and my friend and I had to like leave those early to bring her back. She also like would leave when we were like out and stuff and just like disappear. We were like, okay, like guess you're gone, that's it. But yeah, so it was pretty apparent that she was an alcoholic, and it was also very apparent that like she literally could never go a single day without having a guy at our apartment as well. I think in total there was probably around 30 to 35 different guys who came through our apartment. Like, that's a rough estimate, honestly. There was a new guy pretty much every single 2 weeks. And none of these guys were, like, good people, I would say. I mean, like, the first one, he was chill, he was fine. But all the rest of them were just dudes who she met off of Tinder or fucking Yik Yak. Like, I'm being so dead ass. That's who they were. So, like I said, she was really, really bad at cleaning. She never cleaned up after herself. Anytime she had guests over, she would not clean up after them. Oh, and let's talk about the fact that she was just entitled to use all of my stuff and not respect it. Sorry. So, basically, like I said, I brought all of the dishes, so I was fine with sharing with them with my roommates. She would leave her dishes in the sink for like a week, not touch them. Ananya and I would put our dishes in the dishwasher, run the dishwasher, empty it, and then suddenly all of the dishes that have been sitting there uncleaned are in the dishwasher, and it needs to be run again. Mind you, she wouldn't empty it after we had to run it a second time just for her stuff. So 2 people can split one load, one person has to use a whole other load because they don't clean for a week. And there was, I think 4 or 5 times we confronted her over the dishes and said, hey, this is a problem, like you need to clean up after yourself, otherwise you cannot use this stuff. She didn't care. Her and I got into a huge fight at the end of the year because of this, and I fully told her, you are not allowed to use any of my stuff, and she wasn't. She ended up having to go out and buy her own stuff. She bought like a single plate, bowl, cup, and she used plastic spoons and knives because she was too cheap to buy any. Mind you, I brought those plastic spoons and knives, so that was funny. Anyways, so let's talk about the things she broke, damaged, or lost. So to start out, she at one point was trying to sleep with our neighbor and like trying to get with him and stuff, and so she would constantly bring him over to our place. Mind you, he had his entire own room, but she wouldn't go over there. So she would bring him over, he would use our stuff, you know, use our water, electric, my stuff, not respect it, anything. So I had brought coffee mugs that were from my parents' wedding registry 20 years ago. Or 25 years ago, I think. I can't remember. They've been married for a while. She loses one of them. She brings them over without asking me to the guy's apartment across the hallway and says, oh, I'm just going to use it, and then left it there. And then when I found out about it, turns out she was like, oh, I don't know where it went. It got lost. She tells Ananya that she left it over in his apartment, in his bedroom. So I had actually gone over there at that point and said to his roommates, like, hey, like, I need to find this cup. Like, it's not even mine, bro. It's literally my parents'. They couldn't find it, because they fucking checked the kitchen, not the bedroom. She didn't tell anybody it was in the bedroom until after I'd already gone over there, by the way. So that was lost. Never gonna see that again. Luckily, it was like a $10 cup. My parents didn't care that much, but who the fuck are you to just bring my shit out of the apartment without asking? Number 2, this also happened around the same time that she was trying to sleep with the neighbor. She would always bring him over. His shoes and socks were never on. Why are your dogs out in someone else's apartment? That's weird. She decides to use my $200 blender. Mind you, said she was bringing that blender. Use my $200 blender while she was high, without asking me. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is an expensive blender. Like, this was my graduation gift. I had been wanting this because I always make smoothies at home, and, like, my parents were nice enough to buy this for me, and she never properly cleaned it. Every single time she cleaned it, there was always still smoothie, fruit, and shit stuck on the, like, actual side, inside the blender, so I would have to clean it a second time anyways. Let's see. One time she decided to make cookies. My grandma gifted me her old KitchenAid mixer. Never was cleaned. Had to clean it a second and third time after she made them because literally was not cleaned properly the first time. Another guy who she brought over, they decided to do like shots or something, or like pregame at our apartment. She breaks one of my glasses. This was a cheap glass. I didn't really care that much, but I was like, okay. She didn't even offer to replace it either. I was like, all right, cool. Let's see, what else? Oh, my mesh strainers, like, you know, strainers you use to drain out pasta. She refused to clean those. There was one time it literally sat with molded food. Like, it was starting to mold for over a week and a half in the sink after I had said, hey, we need to be hand washing these. You cannot just let it sit for a week. Otherwise, it's impossible to clean. Literally let it sit for a week. I took a photo of it. I sent it out to all of my friends. Over 20 different people told me that is not clean. I don't know who she's lying to. That's not clean. And then I think this is what, like, really sparked the big fight we had at the end of the year where I finally told her, like, no, my stuff is off limits. And she tried to give me attitude about it. I was like, dude, if you're not going to clean this shit, you cannot use my stuff. And she was like, well, I'm really busy right now. And I was like, babe, it's exam season. Everybody is busy. If you can have your weird boy toy over at midnight to 2 a.m., you can find time to do the dishes. And she was like, well, he only comes after midnight. Okay, so again, I'm still not seeing a proper or valid excuse for you not doing the dishes. So I was like, fine, if you want to act like that, you cannot use my stuff. She was like, and I was like, this. Took away all the stuff. She couldn't use it for the rest of the year. I think that was like the last month of us living together. That was insane. I think this was after she had been eating out on our couch. Like I said, there was always a guy in our apartment. Oftentimes they would listen to, like, they would watch movies and music and stuff, like, super late at night. Like, me and Ananya were trying to go to sleep, and she'd be texting me and like, oh, I can't sleep because it's loud. Or I'd be saying, oh, can't sleep. They have the movie up at, like, max volume or something. She very rarely respected the rules of our, like, apartment. Because there was so many guys in our apartment all the time, we had made, like, a general house rule of, like, hey, nobody of any gender is allowed in the apartment past midnight on school nights. I feel like that's a pretty fair rule, especially when the shared space is connected to the bedrooms and, like, we don't have soundproof walls. She never recognized this rule. It was crazy. She actually tried to come at me because I briefly dated someone this year, and he would be at our apartment past midnight, but guess what? I have my own bedroom. I have my own door that locks. I pay double what you guys pay to have that benefit. Just because you have a shared room doesn't mean that the living room becomes your own private bed space when Ananya is in her room. No, that's not how it works. Also, if you can't even fucking do the dishes, like, you could at the very least follow these rules. It got to a point that I was genuinely, like, so scared for my safety. I put the knives and everything in my own bedroom because I literally was afraid this bitch was going to stab me. Oh, back to welcome week. She also tells me that she has bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, all this crap, and doesn't take her meds because she wants to drink. You can't take your bipolar medication if you want to get lit. So she just, like, wouldn't consistently take it. Yeah, that was, like, a huge red flag, yeah. Also, she never had any friends. There was never a single female friend in our apartment up until, like, after she had signed with the new girls. Like, she had gone out with them a couple times, but until that point, there was not a single female friend who ever entered our apartment for her. It was only ever guys who she was sleeping with. And, again, none of them respected our stuff, ever. There was one guy who came, and he always smelled. He literally always stunk. I was like, what the fuck? Like, why do you smell? She would very often kick out our other roommate, Ananya. I don't know why I'm referring to her. Like, Ananya. She would very often kick out Ananya so she could, like, hook up with these guys and stuff. And Ananya would be forced to hang out in the living room or the kitchen because she couldn't use her own bedroom. So that was really sweet of her. And then, let's see, she was also just very loud in general. Like, she would hold really loud phone calls a lot randomly, and I was like, okay, cool. So between, like, not cleaning up, being slightly afraid because this bitch literally is not taking her medication, her being an alcoholic, everything else, I'm trying to think of other things that happened this year that were genuinely crazy. Oh, like, my friends were scared for my safety. I had multiple friends telling me, like, babe, you probably need to, like, call the police on her, and I was like, well, yes. There was another instance where she jumped out of a guy's car, a moving car, while she was drunk because she thought it was funny, I guess. She would also, like, only talk to these guys for as long as they were paying for things. Oh, she was very manipulative when it came to, like, things being paid for. She would only ever, like, want to have an interaction with you if you were, like, paying for something for her. The amount of times that she would be like, oh, we need this or this or this for the apartment. And I was like, so who's buying that? And then she would just be like, thinking I was going to buy it. No. So, okay, this video is also getting long, so I will do a part 3. Come back for part 3 if you're interested. Okay, this is part 3 of the time my roommate got eaten out on my living room couch and my friends walked in. If you do not see part 1 and part 2, those are up on my profile. Definitely check those out. We're gonna get a little bit deeper into some of these stories and see if I missed anything. I will say each of these videos is 10 minutes long, so it pretty much covers everything, but there's definitely probably some things I left out. So with that, let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about the story of, okay, so as I said in the last video, she very rarely would have female friends in our apartment. The only female friend she had ever met was actually one of my good friends named Dia. Dia stopped being friends with her because it turns out Psycho Bitch was trying to pressure her to do coke. So, yeah. And Dia was not okay with this. Like, who's just doing coke? Like, who? Like, I know it happens, but if somebody says, no, I don't want to do that, why the fuck would you keep pressuring them into doing that? That's weird. And so, yeah, so they had gone to Winterfest, which is, like, the big sorority fraternity, like, I don't know, I guess, like, event, I guess, and yes, coke very much happens there. Like, it's well known. It's not a secret. But anyways, so Dia, speaking on her behalf, she's a black woman. Why the fuck would she want to be at an all-white event doing coke, doing lines, when there's cops? Let's use our common sense. Anyways, so yeah, Dia was like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with that. And Psycho Bitch would not stop pressuring her. Dia also told me that literally the only time Psycho Bitch ever wanted to hang out, it was so they could go drinking. She never was like, hey, like, let's go study, let's go do this, let's actually be friends. No, she only ever wanted to go out. So, I did see that a lot, being her own roommate. She would constantly ask me, can we go to Skeeps? Can we go here? Can we do this? And I was like, it's a Wednesday. Let's talk about it. I was like, no, I'm not going out every weekend. Actually, I did go out a decent amount. My fall semester, I can't even lie. But I was going out with people who I wasn't getting absolutely trashed and hammered with. What? Oh, let's also talk about the story. So she came in one time so drunk and she threw up all over her, like, bedroom and in the carpet. And she never cleaned it up. Yeah, so Ananya got to deal with a really nice bright orange stain on their carpet for the rest of the school year. That happened around Halloween time. When I went into her room, you couldn't find the floor. So there was Ananya's side, and then just every single thing you could possibly imagine. Trash, food, clothing, old papers, literally all. Her room was never clean. I think I saw it clean the first day we moved in, and that was it. It was never clean other than that. Let's see what else. Oh, let's, like, really dive into the, like, her getting eaten out on the couch thing, because I'm sure everyone's like, what the fuck? So, I had decided to go out with my friends that night. We had gone to one of the, Latino frats, and my friend and I were hungry, so Cane's is literally right downstairs, basically, in our lobby. So she was like, let's get Cane's, and I was like, fuck yeah, let's get Cane's. So we go, we're getting our food. My other friend had left her jacket at my apartment, so I gave her my key and was like, hey, go grab your jacket. We'll be at Cane's. Come back, drop my key off. You guys can go home. She was like, okay, sounds good. So her and her friend, oh my gosh, who was it? Lily, and oh my god, I forget her name. I feel so bad if she sees this. It's not Bridget. Bridget's Lily's sister. Oh my god, why am I forgetting her name? Anyways, Lily and Lily's friend. I'm so sorry, Lily's friend. Like, I know your name. It's just blanking on me right now. Anyways, so Paulina, my best friend, her and I had gone to go get Cane's. Lily and Lily's friend had gone up to my apartment to grab her jacket. They walk in. Psycho Bitch is getting eaten out on the couch for everyone to see. We know this happened because it was confirmed for us 2 weeks later. So they come back downstairs. We're getting our food. We meet them in the lobby, and they said, hey, pretty sure Psycho Bitch is getting eaten out on your couch. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, like, her leg was in the air, the guy was in that area, and they seemed to jump when we opened the door. So I walk in with Paulina. It's pretty obvious something was going on. Psycho Bitch is like, oh, like, I didn't know you guys were coming back, like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yep. So we go into my room, we're eating Cane's, we're gossiping loud enough that they can hear us, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Anyways, so at that night, it was never confirmed. So I tell Ananya the next day, hey, pretty sure some shit was going down on the couch. I don't know if you want to sit on it, like, I'm not trying to have cooch juice anywhere near me, but that's just my thought. Psycho Bitch decided to ice both of us out for 2 weeks, because she knew that we knew. We avoided sitting on the couch. I'm pretty sure that's what did it for her. Finally, at, like, the 2-week mark, I say to her, look, did this actually happen? Like, we want to be able to use our couch at some point. Like, we pay good money for this apartment. We should be able to use our living room. She's like, yeah, it did happen. But I didn't plan on it happening. I was drunk. Okay, so again, I'm still not seeing a valid reason for you to get your cooch eaten out on our couch. What? She was like, well, Ananya was in the bedroom. Then go to the dude's house. I cannot help you. I cannot help you. You don't do that on a shared space. And I was like, dude, we all pay for this damn couch. Like, what are you doing? So we made her wash the couch cushions. She had a whole problem with that. She was like, but like, they're not even dirty. I don't care. If your bare ass cheeks were on this fucking couch, and trust, they were always out. She literally never wore clothes that would actually cover her. A lot of times she would literally walk out in like underwear and shorts so far cranked up her ass, you could see her entire world. And like, I'm a feminist, okay? Like, I don't care. It's your house. Do what you want. But like, when we have other people over, that's weird. I had multiple friends be like, dude, why is she not wearing shorts? And I'm like, no, she is. They're just so far up her ass, you can't tell. And like, girls and guys were saying this. It's not just like like whatever. Like, both people, both sides were like, what the fuck? You know? So yeah, that was really fun. Honest to God, I'm surprised she never tried to like steal anything from me. That was a big concern. I always had to have my bedroom door locked. I did not feel safe, like, with just having it open if I wasn't actually in the apartment, because she was the type of person who would just steal stuff, honestly. But yeah, so it was a very interesting living experience. She is an alcoholic, I would say, and honestly, low-key an addict of other things, but I don't really know how well that is now. But to her future roommates, sorry, not sorry, like, I didn't do my research. I don't know if y'all did. If she does see this video, I'd be surprised because I have her blocked on everything. And if she tries to get me in trouble for like defamation of character, babe, I know everybody at the public defender's office. I know how to get a PPO. You know what a PPO is? Paid protection order. That's a restraining order, bitch. Like, don't fuck with me. Trust and believe, I know everybody in the system. You're not winning this case. And all of this can be 100% confirmed. This can't even be considered defamation of character because everything I say in this is factually true and can be backed up by multiple people who were involved. So there's that. But yeah, I have her blocked on everything. She doesn't have my location. She cannot get into this apartment anymore. Her lease is up. It ended today. So, and she moved out and she had told me that she wasn't going to turn in her key because she wanted to tan on the roof. Babe, if you live at a house, you should have a backyard. You should have a porch. Go tan at your own place. Ain't nobody wants you here. Yeah, pretty much every single person who has had an interaction with her hates her. My best friend actually told me, Paulina, she was like, yeah, she like pulled my hair in class. What? What the fuck? Another thing that she was very, very fat phobic. Like, almost to the point that it was like, whoa, like, I might be overly woke, but like, what the fuck? Like, she would literally, like, it was crazy. It was genuinely crazy, and honestly, I would go out on a limb and say that she was, like, to a certain degree racist. She was also a person of color, but, yeah, there was, like, some comments she made that I was like, girl, you teetering on a scale that I don't want to see. But yeah, it was crazy. Like, genuinely, this living experience was crazy. There's multiple points that I was scared for my safety. The day she moved out, I have never cried so hard. Happy tears and just, like, a weight of relief. Like, oh my God. But yeah, to her current roommates, hopefully she's better. She told me she had her own room. Good luck to your dishes. Good luck to your trash. But yeah, so hopefully maybe this year she'll have a better experience, but considering every single one of her roommates since freshman year absolutely despises her, I'm gonna guess that this senior year isn't gonna be much different. So, with that, I'm concluding all of my story times. I hope you guys enjoyed so far, but yeah, if this blows up, sweet, at least I'm viral, so.
Story time of a man not getting the hint. This is the guy I mentioned at the end of one of my recent videos of like crazy things guys have said to me, and I said I could do a whole story time on him if you wanted, and a couple people said they would be interested in that, so I'm gonna do that today. I went on a cruise recently, and I ended up meeting this guy, and at first he was like really chill and cool, and I low-key was kind of interested in him, but he just slowly, it just got worse. So the way this all started out was me and my friend Elena, who came on the cruise with us, were in the hot tubs. Like, everybody else was super tired that night. We had been doing stuff all day, and they all wanted to go to bed, but me and Elena were like, oh, we still want to hang out, we still want to do stuff. There were a lot of people in there, but slowly people started to leave, and it was kind of just the two of us. But then all of a sudden, these two like younger guys show up. They sit down, and they're just like sitting next to us. Me and Elena are just minding our business and talking. But then eventually, like, one of them says something like pretty loud, and I laugh at it. Then like we all just start talking. So it was the two of them and then us two girls, and just the four of us were talking. We just started chatting about life, like asking where each other are from and all that stuff. And I was like, are you guys employed? And They both were like telling me what they do. So then they asked the two of us what we do. And my friend Elena is like, oh, I have 2 jobs. I do this and this. And then I was like, oh, I do this. And then she was like, no, tell them about like your nighttime job. Tell them about your night job. And I was just like, because she was referring to TikTok. And I don't really like telling people about my TikTok. Just because I low-key get like embarrassed. Because it's just like, the people that get it. And they watch my videos. But like, I feel like I have a specific audience. And people, especially guys, are not in that audience. And then it just feels like... And I just don't like to tell people about it in general, like, that I don't know, because I don't want it to seem like I'm, like, bragging or, like, I think I'm hot shit. I don't know. But she was, like, joking around and kept being like, tell them about your night job. And they're like, your night job? Like, thinking it was something sus, which if it was, who cares? But, so eventually I was just like, oh, like, I do TikTok. Like, it's just kind of a casual thing, blah, blah, blah. So then they were asking me questions about that. And, this is part of the other video where I was talking about this guy, but they started asking me like questions about like if I get hate comments and like if anybody has ever come up to me in person and like said they don't like me, and I was like, no, I've never even been recognized at all, like good or bad, in person. Like nobody's ever recognized me from TikTok because I'm really just not that big. So then they're like, wait, can I be your first IRL hater? Can I be your first IRL hater? And then they just started like saying just stupid stuff to me about like hating me, whatever, and it was funny. And we talked for, like, probably 2 hours. Like I said, I honestly don't remember too much of what we were talking about. But just, like, casual conversation, like, just basic questions. Oh, like, are you guys having fun on the cruise? Just stupid stuff like that. And like I said, like, work, school, all of that. Eventually, me and Elena are, like, we're really tired. Like, I think we're going to go to bed. And they're like, well, we're going to the club tonight. Like, you guys should come to the club with us. And I was like, no. Because at this point, it was already, like, midnight. And I'm just someone who really always goes to bed early. Like, I am very tired. So I was like, no, like, I don't think so tonight. And they kept being like, no, just come. And my friend Elena, she likes to stay up and she likes to do stuff like that. So she's like, oh, I might go, but I don't know. They were like, well, like, both of you should come. Just let us know. I need to give them names. The younger one I'll call Connor. And the older one I'll call Sam. So Sam... was like, he was attractive. He was pretty attractive. And there was good vibes all around between all 4 of us. But like, you know, Sam was attractive. And he comes up to me and he's like, this is so funny. You have to pay for Wi-Fi on the cruise. And if you don't have it, like the only thing you can use is the app. He comes up to me and asks me for like my name on the app and adds me on the app. And I don't know why that was so funny. It's like, I've never had a guy ask for my like Snapchat or Instagram or anything, but I've had a guy ask for my fucking cruise app. Since I don't usually get a lot of, you know, male approaching in person, whenever it does happen in any capacity, I'm just like so, you know, and like I said, the guy was attractive. We were having good convos. It was fun. So I gave him like my name and everything and add him on the freaking app. And then he texts me and he's like, are you coming to the club? Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. And I fell asleep because I didn't want to. And so that was that. But then the next day he was like messaging me asking like if I wanted to hang out. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of doing stuff with my family today. Like, I don't think I can hang out until probably tonight. I was like, maybe like us 4 can all meet up in the hot tubs again or something. But like, I'm doing stuff with my family. He's like, oh, that's fine. But like, just let me know when you're free. And I was like, I probably won't be free until tonight. Like, blah, blah, blah. Oh, also on the first night, whenever we were talking about jobs, I told them that I worked at like a food place. And they were like, oh, like, I'm expecting you to, like, make us that food now. Like, let's say I worked at Panera. They're like, oh, well, now we're expecting you to bring us a bacon turkey bravo. Like, we're expecting you to make us bacon turkey bravos or whatever and bring it to our room. And I was just like, oh, ha, ha, ha. That's important for later. So he kind of kept texting me asking, like, when I wanted to meet up. And I kept being like, I probably can't until later today. We went to a show. And then we were kind of trying to decide what we wanted to do. And all of us decided we wanted to go into the casino. So I texted him. I was like, hey, like, my whole family's going to the casino. Like, you guys are welcome to meet us down there if you want to, like, hang out and stuff. But my family's going to be there. So just letting you know, like, I'm with my family. And he's like, okay, sounds good. And then, like, he was doing something else. And also he didn't know where the casino was. So I was, like, texting him where to go and, like, all this stuff. And he was like, okay, well, I'm doing something else. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm just, like, telling you where we are. I'm like, take your time. Like, I'm not begging you to come here. I'm just saying, like, we're in the casino. Because he kept asking me throughout the day if we were going to hang out again. So I'm like, hey, we're in the casino. And then he's like, I'm doing something. 1 minute. And I'm like, okay, I'm just telling you, like, you can meet up at the casino if you want. Because you've been asking all day. But whatever. And eventually he comes down to the casino. I, like, asked if he wanted to bring his cousin too. Because apparently the 2 guys were cousins. Sam and, what's the name? Connor, I think is the name I made up. They're cousins. And, yeah. And so I was like, oh, bring Connor too, because Connor was funny, and Connor was actually really nice and really cool the whole time. Connor never turned evil. He ends up coming down. He can't find where we are because it was like a big casino. So I like go up and meet with him, and I'm talking to him, and he like tries to give me a hug, which is like fine, but I just wasn't expecting it, so it was kind of awkward. And then he literally was like, why are you being so awkward with me? And I was like, sorry. Like I said, that's just how I am. And then he was like, okay, whatever. And then he was like, do you really want Connor to come that bad? Like, he's not here. Are you upset about it? Are you upset that Connor's not here? And I was like, oh no, like we all just had fun hanging out, so I thought it would be fun if all of us hung out again. He's like, well, he's not here right now. Do you care? And I'm like, no, like he doesn't have to come. I just said, like, tell him to come too, because we all had fun last night. But he was like getting offended that I wanted his cousin to come too. And he's like acting like, oh, do you like him better than me? And I'm just like, I didn't even say that. We all were just hanging out last night and we had a good time. So I told you to tell him to come too. Like, we're hanging out with my fucking family. Why are you getting so upset? But whatever. I kind of just moved on from it. I thought he was maybe joking. Also, I want to say, I didn't know, but the night before and this night and every single time I interacted with this man, belligerently drunk. Like, drunk out of his fucking mind. And I didn't know that until the end of our hot tub adventure, because his like cousin or him said like, oh yeah, he's so drunk right now. And like, he was literally like, and I was like, oh wow. But I thought maybe that was just a one night thing. But no, again, he's belligerently drunk, like out of his fucking mind. He's literally ordering a drink as soon as he gets in the casino. And, you know, obviously you're on a cruise, you're gonna drink, like that's fine. But it was like, he was insanely drunk. And I can deal with that on occasion, but I feel like it was literally constant. It was constant. Like his cousin even said, he's like, yeah, he hasn't not been drunk one time. And I'm just like, I don't know, kind of a red flag in my opinion, but whatever. But yeah, so then he's like hanging out with us in the casino, whatever. His cousin does end up coming down. They had like a whole situation they had to deal with, I guess. I don't know. And so we're all hanging out again. We're having a pretty good time. Like it was chill. We were watching my like brother play at some tables and watching my mom do like the slot machines and all that. Just chilling out, having a good time. But I literally, like, he kept coming up behind me and like putting his hand on my back, which I didn't really care. Like, it wasn't like he was doing anything wrong, but it was like constantly. Like the first few times I was like, because, you know, like it would be like people would be walking behind us and he'd put his hand on my back to like make sure they don't bump into me or anything. And I'm like, okay, but it felt like he was doing it every single chance he could. Like any chance he had to put his hands on me, he was. And again, maybe that's not an issue, but it was just like so blatantly obvious. Like, I'm like, I feel like you watched a podcast, like How to Flirt with Girls, and they're like, so what's going to drive the girls crazy is physical touch. Touch them at any chance you get, and then they will fall in love. Like, literally, any chance he got, he'd just be like, again, nothing like inappropriate. So it wasn't like he was doing anything wrong, but I was just like, the first few times, yeah, you're fine. But it's like, you've touched me 20 times in the past 5 minutes. Like, you gotta chill. None of us were even like betting anymore. I wasn't even in the first place because I'm not old enough. I was just watching. But like we're all just getting kind of tired of it. The casino's getting busier, so we're just like, oh, should we go hang out somewhere else? We decided to get a drink. There's this certain bar that like we became friends with one of the workers in there. So we're like, oh, let's go to this bar and see so-and-so, and then we can go up to the top deck and like just look at the sky or whatever. So we go to the bar. I had already started getting uncomfortable at this point just because he kept making really inappropriate jokes towards me. And it's like, I'm with my family right now. Like my mom is sitting right there at the slot machine and he's saying stuff to me about how I never brought him his food and stuff like that. Like how I was saying before, they were saying like to bring them a bacon turkey bravo or whatever. He kept saying like, I was expecting you in my room last night. And I'm just like, like I was like, anytime he made like a weird joke, and it was constant, but I can't remember like most of the stuff he was saying, but he kept making like weird jokes, like weird sexual jokes, and I just kept being like, stop. And I think he thought that me telling him to stop was like me flirting, but it wasn't. I'm legitimately telling him to stop, but he was like taking it as me like being hard to like playing hard to get. And I'm like, no, I want you to stop. I'm trying to distance myself, but like we're hanging out in a group. Like it's all my siblings, my friend, and then the two of them. So it wasn't like we were alone. It was like if we were alone, I would have ran away. But like since we were in a group, I was like, I'm not gonna kill the vibe. Like whatever. So we're just hanging out in the bar. I literally like intentionally. He keeps making these jokes, and so I intentionally remove myself from his vicinity, and I'm like, I'm sitting over here, and I literally like left to go sit in a different area. He follows me to the area when I'm like clearly trying to get away from him and keeps making the jokes. And then his cousin, again, both of them are taking me, like telling him to stop and like setting boundaries as me flirting, and his cousin keeps being like, just kiss already, just kiss already. I'm like, no. I can't even describe. I feel like it sounds like I'm being dramatic, but I just can't describe like the way he was acting. Like I said, he was so fucking drunk out of his mind and just being so like weird and uncomfortable and like making me uncomfortable and making weird jokes and touching me. And I feel like I said, I was being fairly obvious that I wanted him to stop, but he wasn't taking it. And I was like interested in him at first, but the more this kept going on, I just wasn't interested, because I don't judge people who, you know, do like to get a little freaky nasty. Like, that's fine. I understand. It's fun. It's funky. It's fresh. But I personally am not the type to do that, just because, I mean, I will, but like with someone I'm dating, because I am very emotional and I get attached to people very easily. So I know that I should not be doing that, because it will just make me upset. So I was basically trying to like set this boundary with him, because he kept implying like he wanted to do stuff. And I'm like, no. And he just kept pushing and pushing, whatever. And yeah, so I kind of tried to separate myself from him, but still hanging out. I literally start like planting myself next to my like brother and stuff, just so I don't have to deal with it. But we go up to the top deck, and then up there is where it just gets even worse, because I'm like, we're all hanging out. I keep trying to have like conversations with the group, but every time I try, because like the whole group was talking, and it was like everybody was having like these funny conversations, like I don't know, it was just silly, and like obviously I want to be a part of the freaking conversations. I kept trying to be involved in the group conversation, and every time I did, he would literally like cut me off, like separate me from the group, put himself between me and the group, and like cut me off from whatever I was saying to the group, and trying to start an individual conversation with me. Like, he would not let me speak to the group. He kept trying to only get me to talk to him. And that's like fine. Like, I don't mind obviously talking to one person, but it's like, we're with a group. I'm trying to talk to the group, and then like I'm trying to have fun. Like, everybody's laughing and having a good time, and instead of getting to be included in that good time, you're cutting me off from them and making me talk to you. Which, again, I wouldn't have a problem with too much, but it's just, like, rude to me, like, he's interrupting me. And then on top of that, the only conversations this man was trying to have with me were, again, making, like, weird sexual comments and jokes. And so I just, like, I literally, every time he would say something, I would just cut him off and then try to get back to the group. But he literally, like, kept blocking me from the group. Like, I don't know how to describe it. And, again, like, I keep telling him, like, stop. And he's taking that as me flirting. Like, he's taking that as me being like, stop it. You're so funny, Sam. No, like, I'm telling you to stop. Like, I'm trying to talk to the group. And he just wasn't picking up on it. And so literally, like, I just started ignoring him. And then he'd be like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, you're annoying me. And again, he takes that as flirting. And like, at one point, one of my tactics to ignore him, I literally just started staring at the sky. And then again, he's like, are you okay? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm looking at the stars. Like, it's such a pretty view out here. And then he goes, I have a pretty view too. And just stares directly at my boobs. I literally went, don't do that. Don't do that. And he like thought he was being funny. I'm like, no, you're weirding me out. Are you okay? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm just trying to talk to everybody else, because they're sitting there laughing and I'm miserable over here because you won't let me speak to anybody. But I just kept being like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just trying to talk to the group. And he was like, okay, well, just letting you know, like, if you're with me, I'm going to be like this. Like, I'm the type of guy to always check in on you and make sure you're doing okay. And I said, okay. Well, I'm going to talk to the group now. And then he would just keep interrupting me. And I was getting so fucking irritated. Literally was just sitting there like, but yeah, he keeps making jokes about me, like, coming back to his room and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, die. And of course he takes that as flirting, per usual. And blah, blah, blah. And then at some point, like, he kept, like, poking me or something like that. I was like, can you stop? And he's like, I need to fidget. Like, I'm just, like, I need to move around and do something. And I was like, okay, well, don't make it poking me. And then he, like, took the hair tie off my wrist and was just sitting there, like, playing with it, like, just stretching it like this. And this was also something I mentioned in the other video. I didn't care that he took the hair tie. I'm like, okay, at least he's leaving me alone, because it did low-key distract him, and then I actually got to speak with the group. So I'm like, yes, have your little enrichment time and leave me alone. So he is like playing with my hair tie, whatever. Eventually, like, the wind started picking up, so my hair was blowing around. I needed the hair tie because it was like getting in my eyes and it was annoying me. And so I was like, hey, can I have my hair tie back? And he basically refused to give me my hair tie. And I'm like, please, like, I need it. And he's like, no, like, you owe it to me. You owe it to me. Like, are you going to give it back to me when you're done using it? And I was like, no. And he's like, you owe it to me. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean I owe it to you? And he's like, I've been nice to you, and, like, I want something to remember you by. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I want my hair tie. That's my favorite hair tie. And he's like, it's just a hair tie. It's not that big of a deal. And I was like, exactly. So give it back. And he just, like, literally was refusing to give me my hair tie back, which probably sounds so dumb, but it was actually making me so mad because I'm telling him, like, please give it back. Like, I need it. And he's not listening. He wants it to remember me by. I'm like, girl, we've known each other for a day. Like, you're acting like you're going off to the war and we've been married for 30 years. Like, hello. But whatever. And I literally have to, like, wrestle this hair tie out of his hand and take it back. And again, he takes this as flirting, but I'm, like, genuinely pissed off. Like, I'm genuinely so fucking annoyed. And he's just not getting the hint. And then I get the hair tie back, whatever. He makes a few more weird jokes, and then eventually I'm like, oh, I'm really tired. I need to go to bed. Oh my gosh, I forgot. There was also this whole conversation involved in all this, like, in the middle of this, where I pretty much literally told him, I'm like, I don't want to be around you. And again, he's taking this as me joking and flirting. And he's like, oh, really? Because you were begging to hang out with me all day. You were begging me to come to the casino. Like, saying stuff like that. And I'm like, no, you kept asking me all day when I was going to be free, and I told you I'm hanging out with my family. I was like, no, I'm doing stuff with my family all day. And then I invited you to come to the casino with my family because you had been asking me all day, like, when we were going to hang out. And then he literally was sitting there telling me, like, that I was begging for his attention and, like, saying all this bullshit about how I was begging for his attention. You were begging me to hang out with you all day, and now you're going to sit here and ignore me, or you're going to sit here and act like you don't want to be around me. And I was just like, I literally was sitting there, jaw dropped. I'm like, where the fuck is this audacity coming from? Like, you're delusional. The night kind of ended there, and I left, and I kind of ghosted him. After that, I think I messaged him, like, one more time, but it was because we went to, like, a game show, and he ended up being there, and he, like, tried to volunteer for something, and they wouldn't let him. Like, it's like one of those things where you have to do, like, a scavenger hunt with, like, the people in the crowd, and one of them was, like, find the muscliest person in your group, and they already picked somebody, but then he, like, tried to go and switch out with the guy on the stage, and they're like, no, you can't, and it was really embarrassing to watch. So I texted him and was like, just saw you get denied at the stage or something like that, because it was funny. But yeah, I don't think I talked to him again after that, but he said something else to me about how I was, like, begging to be with him. Oh, and then his cousin, like I said, cousin stayed really nice the whole time. I actually really liked his cousin. Like, he was funny and he was really nice. But his cousin ended up talking at some point when we were on the deck about, like, how his ex cheated on him. And so then we were all kind of talking about, like, our relationship horror stories. And so I was telling one, and then he kept being like, why did you let him treat you like this? It literally reminded me of that TikTok, like, why would he manipulate you? Why would he do that? Did you give in? Like, it literally was that type of shit. And then he's like, does this mean I have a chance? Like, if you're gonna date that guy that acts like that, does this mean I have a chance? And I'm like, what? Like, oh, you like other manipulators? Does that mean I have a chance? No. That means I learned from that and I know to stay away from you. That's what that means. But yeah, just being fucking annoying, and kept, like, implying that I was, like, obsessed with him and I was the one, like, spamming and following him around and all this stuff. And I'm just like, didn't do that. And, ooh, one final thing. It kind of ended there. Like I said, I tried to avoid him for the rest of the cruise. And, like, anytime I saw him, I'm running the other way. But I think the best part and the really cherry on top that I forgot to say earlier was one of the reasons I started, like, distancing myself, especially from him at the bar, was because he revealed to me he's, like, 26. And I'm about to be 21, so is that illegal? No. Like, that's completely legal technically, but in my mind, you know, my frontal lobe is developing. I understand that we are at completely different points in life and, well, hypothetically different maturity levels, and it just feels weird to me. Like, anybody over, like, 2 years older than me, I feel like that's a red flag if they're trying to date me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm crazy. Why do you want to be with a 20-year-old? I don't know. Like, you're 26. Focus on your mortgage. I don't know. 5 to 6 years isn't, like, a huge age gap. It's not really a big deal, but I feel like at my age it is. Like, I feel like we're completely different in like I said, like, place of life and everything like that. And I don't know. It just weirded me out. But, oh my God, another thing he did. I keep remembering things in this video so long already, but he kept, like, trying to peer pressure me into letting him onto my TikTok, like, on my phone, get on my TikTok. And I'm like, no. Like, because after I told him about it the first night, he kept bringing it up and being like, let me see your account, give me your username. And I was like, why can't you, like, just do it on your phone? He's like, no, give me your phone, and kept wanting my phone and to get on my account. And I'm like, no. I was like, I'll give you my username, which I didn't even want to give him my username. And I told him no like 30 times. I'm like, it's for me. Like, it's for me and the girls. Like, I don't need to give it to you. And he kept insisting on it. And eventually I was like, I'll just give you my username and you can look it up on your own phone. And he's like, well, I don't have the Wi-Fi. And I'm like, okay, well, then I'll send it to you and you can look it up at home. Like, I don't care. But he kept like trying to insist on getting on my phone and then getting like on my TikTok. But I'm like, did you want to do something else on my phone? Like, I don't know, because it was just so weird and he was being so pushy about it. And I kept telling him no. And he literally tried to like take my phone from me at some point because I was like replying to comments or something when we were one of the points where I was trying to ignore him. And he literally was like trying to take it from me. And I'm like, no, like cut it out. He pissed me off so bad. So yeah, I literally only talked to him for 2 days and then I was like, oh, you're done. Oh, you're done. Yeah, he was pissing me off bad. And he might have my TikTok, I don't know, but if you see this, never fucking do that again. He did end up sending me apology texts, like, I think when he realized I was ghosting him, he's like, sorry for being too drunk. And I was like, yeah, you should be. Anyways, bye.
Yes, I'm doing dry January this year, and no, it's not because I care about my health. It's because I want to remind everyone that I am better than them.
I'm literally known in my town for having the baby in high school, and she passed away. So I'll explain it a little bit if you guys want to know. But yeah, I got pregnant when I was 14 years old, the summer before freshman year. And freshman year starts. I kept it a secret for 10 weeks, and then my sister snitched on me. My mom found out. And then from the moment that everybody found out until the moment I had that baby at 24 weeks, I was just constantly bullied, berated. They called me every name in the book. Not my family, mostly my mom did and my dad did, but it was his family. Everyone on his side of the family threatened to beat me up in the mornings when they saw me walk into school. They would like drive by my house and throw things out the windows. Like it was terrible. So I was scared to death, and I ended up going into labor one night, and when I finally like had the baby and everything, they were like, you had a stress-induced labor. And I know why. Absolutely know why. Anyway, so the baby ended up, she was alive for a month and a half. Her name was Paige, in the NICU at St. Vincent's, the Children's Hospital up in Indy. And it was the worst time of my life. I can't even lie to you guys. I was doing online school because I dropped out when everybody found out I was pregnant. I literally puked in Four Corners hallway on a lot of people. I'm not going to school, that's crazy. So I went to online school, and then I worked full-time because when you're on online school you're able to work more, and I also had a baby on the way or at the hospital, so I needed to work. And I was working full-time at McDonald's when this happened, and my grandma, she would come pick me up from work every single night. We would go to my house and get like a change of clothes and stuff, and then I would go to Indy to be with my baby because she was breastfed. So I literally had to go pump and like take care of her by myself most of the time because her dad would not get a job, and my grandma was paying for me to go down there, trying to let me save my money so I could buy stuff for my baby. And she just told him after like 5 or 6 times of taking him down there, like, I can't keep paying for your food. I can't keep paying to make sure that you're taken care of down here. I'm taking care of Lily and the baby. Like, I can't do that for you. So he never got a job, and his dad wouldn't give him any money to come down and help us. So it was just me and my grandma. And the whole time I was there, I would get messages from my friends, and they were in school still. And they were literally sending me pictures of my boyfriend cheating on me, like at school while I was taking care of his baby at home, or like in Indy. And I just kept it in my back pocket for a while. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like, I don't know what to do. Like, I just had a baby with him. Like, what am I supposed to do? Well, I ended up getting a phone call one night. He was here at the hospital this night. So we were at the hotel, like, staying the night because they said it was going to be a rough night. Like, we needed to be close by. So they let us stay in the hotel, and we got a call at 4 o'clock in the morning that it was time. And he went down there with us, and he was there while she passed away and everything. But the moment she passed away, I just looked at him, and I knew that I didn't want to be with him anymore because she was the only thing holding me to him. And girl, he ruined my life. Especially like the cheating on me when your dying baby is literally in the hospital. That's so crazy. But I don't know. So eventually she ended up passing away that night, and he went home. I sent him home I think, so what happened, my grandma went home first, and I sent him home with my grandma, but my mom and my sisters had, like, come up to be with me or, like, you know, see the baby or whatever before it was all over. And I ended up going home with my mom that night, so I sent him home with her, and I didn't speak to him again. We had a funeral for her, and she was cremated because, I'm not gonna lie, they told me to do that. I didn't know what to do, so they told me to cremate her, and we had, like, a showing. And he kept trying to talk to me while we were there, but I just told my sisters, like, I do not want this man around me. I don't want anything to do with him. And I ghosted him. I never really broke up with him. I just ghosted him and moved on with my life. And he popped back a little while later, but I told him to kick fucking rocks. Yeah, I'm not the one. But anyway, that's a little insight onto my miserable fucking pain. So, thank you.